Hey guys, this is Z.A.K. here, and today I'm going to do another RC 101 video. Now, I've been filming these because some of my friends got into the hobby, or some of your friends might have gotten into the hobby, and they want to know what to do, or maybe you got into the hobby and you want some help and you want to know what to do, or what to buy, or like how to fix this or that. So that's basically what this series is about. So, in the second episode of RC 101, we're going to talk about something a little bit more simple. So we're going to be talking about rear motor versus mid motor and what the downsides are and what the upsides are, or the benefits. So yeah, so we're going to be starting with the rear motor. So move the mid motor out of the way. Rear motor's right here. Now I have basically a lot of rear motor cars here because, well, I don't really have a lot of money to afford a mid motor. But the upsides of a rear motor is you get a ton more rear traction because you have the motor hanging out the back. And since the motor's hanging out the back, it's giving you more weight in the back, thus giving you more grip. So, yeah, as you can see, my tires, I'm on BK bars. They're kind of balding. They've been balding because I used them on my mod buggy, but yeah, they're just bald. So, if it was a softer tire, these would be balding pretty good because they're on a rear motor buggy and it's got more rear grip. If it was a mod buggy, it would bald out. The stock buggy doesn't really bald it out as much. So that's pretty much one of the downsides is you're going to wear out some tires more. It just depends on your setup. On my setup, when I ran mod buggy with this, I was going through some tires, but now that it's a 17.5, I don't really go through tires. So yeah, and another downside is nowadays people are running mid motor cars, which is why I got my 22 2.0, which I'll get to in a second. And mid motor cars, they're just a new thing, and they're just a ton better than rear motor cars. But rear motor cars, I would say, are perfect for stock racing because you don't need all the you don't get a lot of corner speed like you do with a mid motor car or a mod buggy. This thing, you don't really do corner speed. You need straight line speed and you need more rear traction to get that speed. So, thus, the motor being in the back gets more traction and you're not going as fast around the turns, just saying. So, you'll just, because you have a slower car, so you don't really need that much weight in the center to help you corner like a mid motor car. Also, I put a front wing on my rear motor, which gives it a little bit more downforce sometimes, and it can help the steering and stuff like that. And I have a lot of people with B4s. I mean, I know a lot of people with B4s, and yeah, they just kill at the tracks sometimes. When I was racing last, which was like 2, 3 months ago, I saw B4 killing it in stock last. So yeah, I just decided to plop stock in here and see how it does. And yeah, another upside, depending on what model you have for a mid motor buggy in particular, is that the mid motors have a lot less space than than the rear motor cars do, because they have to fit the motor right there. They have to fit the ESC, the servo, and the receiver, and your transponder, and all that other stuff. Now at my track, we run the Milapse transponders that you body clip at the top of your body. But if you have a personal transponder, like the little Milapse ones that cost like $90, and slap on the servo, and you're pretty much good. Otherwise, yeah, you get a ton more room in this, and it's really nice. And there's more surface area on the bottom, kind of to help glide over jumps and bumps and stuff if you're outdoors, which is really nice. And also, the shock setup is basically a lot different between rear and mid motor, since, yeah, your motor's going to be in the middle. So, yeah, and also your wing setup's going to be different. Now, with a rear motor car, I'm keeping a lot of wicker bill on my wings because you don't have a lot of weight in the forward part of your buggy like the mid motor, so you're going to want all that downforce so you can just glide over the jump. And that's also why I put the front wing on because, yeah, there's no weight in the front. A lot lighter in the front. If you have a rear motor buggy, the front's way easier to lift. Also, a downside with the rear motor car is the front tires mostly aren't on the ground as much if you're on mod, because all you're doing is wheeling with the weight up in the front. I mean, no weight in the front. So what I used to have when I was running mod buggy is all this hot glue residue in here, which you probably can't see, but I used to put weights all up in here, and then under the front upper deck right there, so it was weighted down. So yeah, and also the good thing about running a stock buggy is that I mean a stock buggy, a rear motor buggy, yeah, is that you don't really go through front tires as much if you're like a bash or you just want to you go to the track to practice all the time, which is basically what I'm doing this winter. Next winter I'm racing, but you're not going to go through tires much, and you can just save them up, and you're good. Rear tires, it depends on what you're racing, so yeah, and what sauce you're using or what conditions. So yeah, and also the rear motors tend to be cheaper. I know the B5 is like around, I'd have to say 250, my guess, and the B5M is like 350. I don't know if that's even right, but there is a price difference. But yeah, it depends on what you're doing. I love running my rear motors outside because you need that rear grip on that really under traction. There's like no traction outside at my track because there's dirt on the surface. So for low traction areas, yes, a rear motor would be awesome. But if you're running on a high traction surface, I would go mid motor since there's more weight in the front and you'll need a lot of traction in the rear and you can just jet across everything. And yeah, so it's set the before side, you get the 22. Now I have had this thing since Christmas time, and I've done a build video, and a lot of my friends and my fellow subscribers know about this car. If you follow me on Instagram, which I'll probably have a link in the description. So yeah, this thing I'm technically, well, not technically, but I am running Mod Buggy with this. So a lot of things I'm saying is just like, Mod Buggy stuff, and the other cars stock buggy stuff. So yeah, mid motors. The goods about it is that some of them you can do 3 gear or 4 gear. I know the RB6 and the 22 2.0, it's only 4 gear, but you could get guys out there to make some 3 gear trannies for you. So also, like I said before, the gearbox is right here, and it's just way farther forward. And as you can see, the motor's just way farther in front. It also, there's going to be a lot more front traction and steering since your weight's all in the front. And yeah, it's, for the weight bias of the car, it's pretty much centered with the electronics because your motor's pushed forward a lot more than the rear motor, so you're going to need a lot more space to mount your electronics, which is the downside. So I'm getting a low profile servo in the mail, which I don't really need, but I'd rather have so to save space. And then I'm basically running all standard size stuff. So yeah, if you're gonna race a mid motor buggy, you better watch out for your space. Get a low profile servo, fit everything in there better, and yeah, I'm probably gonna move my AC down here since it's probably gonna get in the way of the body. So yeah, I think I might have covered a lot of this stuff from when I was talking about my stock buggy, but yeah, this thing, the mid motor cars, is excellent upside. It just corners really nice. You just go through the turns at full corner speed and just jet around because you don't have to worry about your front tires popping off the ground or anything like that you do with rear motor buggy because it's pretty much centered out. And I know on the rear motor buggies you just jet your battery forward all the way or just put weight, but it's not the same as just getting a mid motor buggy. So yeah, and also a downside, especially with the 22 and the RB6 and the original B5s, are that, not the B5s, B5Ms, is that they have 4 years. And now, some people don't like 4 years. Now, I wouldn't race a 4 year if you're in stock class since that extra reduction gear is in there. And it's just going to suck out some of your speed. But it's driver opinion. I don't really think that's a big deal, but some people think it's a big deal. But I don't know if that kind of works out in this case, but but also mid motor cars. Uh, Also, mid motor cars tend to jump a lot more straighter since more of the weight is in the center. So you'll just gun it over the jump, no need to like floor it down or anything, and it's really good. And back to the turning, since like your weight is all in the middle, once you turn, you don't need to slam on the brake like you do with your rear motor buggy and just waste a ton of speed right in the turn. Just go through, carry the turn. I mean, mid motors steer way better than rear motors, so yeah. And in some cases, some of the mid motors could be rear motor or mid motor, like the RB6 and the 22 2.0, which is a major plus of some of those mid motors. And yeah, and another upside is that you don't. It might not be an upside, just kind of driver's opinion, is that your gurney on your wing doesn't need to be at full gurney, or not gurney wicker, because yeah, most of the weight is in the center, and you don't need all that drag in the back, unless if you're just going for extra traction like I was, because this thing traction rolls so much. Just kind of a bad thing sometimes is that if you don't get that turn just right, it can slide on you, and you're not gonna get the turn. So that's kind of a downside. But yeah, that's basically my RC 101 about mid motors versus rear motors, the rear motor and the mid motor. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be making a couple more Tool Thursdays to catch up with my last couple of posts because I was sick for the past couple times I was doing Tool Thursdays. So yeah, guys, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.